Okay, now we are on to Unit 5, Lesson 2, Patterns of Growth. Remember, this unit is on exponential growth and learning exponent rules. All right, so which one does it belong? Tables of values. You have Table A, Table B, Table C, and Table D. Look and see if you can find a reason each one of these shouldn't belong with the others. So if you will, pause the video and examine the different charts. Okay, some examples of why some of these wouldn't belong. For example, on Table A, it's the only one that doesn't start at 0. Everything else has a 0. Okay. Table B, everything in Table V is an even value. Table C could possibly be, it'd be a little bit harder, but if you notice each time we jump on the Y values, it's not the same pattern, and typically everything that we've seen so far, they always grow the same amount. So on this one, what we call on that is nonlinear. And then Table D, what color do we want to use? Table D, it's the only one that does not have a 64. So it does not contain 64. You could also say it's a linear growth. So what I'm saying there is every time we go up on the Y, it's plus 4 each time. All right, so that's just a few. You could have something totally different. What I just wanted you to look at is just look at different patterns that's happening between these 4 tables. Okay, 2.2, growing stores. A food company currently has 5 convenience stores, and it is considering 2 different plans for expanding its chain of stores. So Plan A, they want to open 20 new stores each year. So use the technology to complete a table for the number of stores for each or for the next 10 years as shown here. So this is year 0, so they have 5 stores. That's not going to change at all. Go ahead and pause the video now and see if you can fill out 1, 2, and 3. And actually go on to Plan B as well. And go ahead and see if you can finish this and see if you can see the patterns. If you get stuck, feel free to come back to the video, play until you kind of get unstuck again, but then pause again and make sure you're kind of understanding this. And you can make mistakes. It's not a problem. Okay, so on year 1, they're wanting to open, if you notice here, they added 20. So in year 1, because they're wanting to add 20 each year, so the difference from the previous year is 20. But then we're going to add another 20, because again, it's year 2 now. So if we add another 20 here, now we're at 45 stores. And again, the difference is going to be 20. And then we're just going to stay with that pattern. So if we add 20 every year, we're at 65. And then we add 20 and we go to 85. Add 20. I said 85, my bad. And we're going to add 20 and go to 105. Add another 20 and go to 125. Add another 20 and 145. And 165, 185, and 205. And the difference each year. So each year, we're always increasing by 20. Okay, so that was Plan 1, or Plan A. So what do you notice about the difference from year to year? So if you've noticed the difference from year to year, we're always increasing. Oops. we always increased by 20, which means if there are in stores one year, so if we don't know the year, let's say we want year like 52, but we don't know we want year 52 yet. So if we don't know something, we always use the variable. So we don't know what year we want, but we want to know how many stores there will be a year later than that. So if I'm at year, we'll say 52, oops, sorry guys, then I know the next year I'm going to add 20. So I have a year, and then I'm going to increase it by 20 every year. So what do you notice about the difference every 3 years? So let's look at this. If we want 3 years, it shouldn't matter what 3 years. So let's look here to here. So what do I notice? I ended with 165. I started with 125. So how much of that did I increase by or change? About 40? Let's see, 6 is 40 every 3 years. Okay, oh, let's look, my bad. Let's look over here. At every 3 years, we increased. So we have a 20, and then we're going to add another 20, and then we're going to add another 20. So we're increasing, my fault. So we're increasing 60 every year. So it doesn't matter what 3 years I take, because my numbers are always 20 on where we increased by. So 20, 20, 20. So every 3 years, we're increasing by 60 new stores. So if there are in stores one year, so we have in stores, we don't know how many we have, but then how many stores we're going to have in 3 more years? Well, in 3 years, we're always going to increase by 60. Oh, I know what I did here. Oh, well, forget this. Okay. So now we wrote just a real quick expression. Okay, so now let's look at Plan B. Hopefully you've done some of this on your own, and we're just kind of checking. Otherwise, guys, remember, you're not going to learn this if you don't attempt it on your own first. Get it wrong, not a problem. Nobody can see it but you. And then ask questions if need be. All right, so now for Plan B, they changed it up, and they want to double the stores from each year. So let's just look right here. They start out with 5 stores, year 0. They have 5 stores opened right now. Obviously, there's not a difference because this is our starting year. All right, but if they're doubling every year, that's like taking this, multiply it by 2. So 5 times 2, we get 10. So the difference from the previous year is 5, and your factor from the previous year, so here's your factor, because that's what we multiply by, is 2. Okay, let's change colors, make sure we're understanding. All right, and then we're going to double again. So we double again, I'm going to multiply again by 2. Now 10 times 2 is 20. So the difference from the previous year, so I started with 10, now I have 20. So now I have 10 new stores, but my factor, again, I multiplied by 2. So hopefully you see the pattern now. So again, I'm going to multiply by 2 here. 20 times 2 is going to give me 40. I started with 20, I ended with 40, so my difference is 20. And again, my factor, I multiplied everything by 2. So let's just continue on. Again, pause this pattern, finish this out on your own, please. So check your numbers again. Every time we took our previous number and multiplied it by 2. And guys, writing these little things in here, your little notes as you're going, helps you answer questions later on. Okay, that way you don't forget what you did from each step. Because now, what do you notice about the difference from year to year? So what do you notice about this column that's happening year to year? Is there a pattern of anything? No, there's not a pattern. I mean, there's a somewhat of a pattern because it's always that previous number, right? But within this one, we're never growing at the same rate. Whereas up here, we always grew by 20. We always increased by 20. On this one, there's not really a pattern, so they aren't the same. Okay, so what do you notice about the factor? We added this in though. What do you notice about the factor every year? Well, the factor is 2 every time because what are we doing? We're doubling our stores each year. If there are in stores, how many stores will be there? Oops, I think that's supposed to be in here. If there are in stores 1 year, how many stores will there be a year later? So if you look right here, again, this is one way you could do this if you keep up with these little skills, like whatever you're doing from 1 to 1. So let's say we don't know this one, and this is our in year. Well, what did I do to this one to get my next year? Well, I multiplied it by 2. So 2 in. And then what do you notice the difference every 3 years? Okay, again, if we look here on every 3 years, again, there's not really a pattern here on the factors. So the difference is not the same. So the difference is not the same this time. But what do you notice about the factor every 3 years? So if it's a factor, okay, so we notice a factor is always 2, but we have 3 of them this time. So it's going to be 8. Well, remember, in our last lesson we learned if we're multiplying the same number over and over and over, we keep that number as our big number, and then we count 1, 2, 3, and that's our exponent. That's our little number. So 2 to the 3rd power is the same thing as 8. All right, so if there are in stores 1 year, if there's in stores 1 year, so let's look at this. Let's mark this one out. There's in stores. How many stores will there be in 3 years later? Well, everybody's is the same. Doesn't matter where you pick it up at. So each one is a multiple of 8, or a factor of 8. So we have 8 times n. Alright, so again, I hope you guys tried some of that on your own and didn't just watch the video and do nothing on your own. If you have questions, shoot emails, ask questions. We will have days where we're actually on the computers with live chat, and you're more than welcome to log in during that time and ask your questions as well too. Alright, and you're going to do this part on your own here in just a minute. So make sure you are following along on here because your exit ticket for today is something similar to this. So here are verbal descriptions of 2 situations, followed by tables and expressions that could help to answer one of the questions in the situation. So situation 1. A person has 80 followers on social media. The number of followers triples each year. How many followers will she have after 4 years? Okay, that's the first situation. Second situation, 2. A tank contains 80 gallons of water and is getting filled at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. How many gallons of water will be in the tank after 4 minutes? So what I want you to do is you have A, B, C, D, E, F as different representations. What you're going to do is you're going to look, and 3 of these will go with situation 1, 3 of these will go with situation 2, and see if you guys can figure out which is which. So pause the video again, look and see, and then play back the video and see if you're going on the correct route. All right, so let's look. On situation 1, we have 80 followers, but situation 2 also has 80 gallons of water, so you know that 80 is a big time part. But in situation 1, we've learned about doubling in this lesson and the previous lesson, so we must assume that if we're tripling something, we are multiplying by 3. Okay, and we're going to multiply by 3 for 4 years. So let's look at this. We start with 80, and then we have times 3, times 3, times 3, times 3. So this one would be situation 1. Okay, let's look at this one, what's happening. So a guy is filling up his tank. So he has, let's see, it contains 80 gallons of water. And now it's going to get filled with 3 gallons every minute. So we're going to add 3 for 1 minute. Add 3 for another minute, add 3 for a third minute, and add 3 for a fourth minute to get our 4 minutes. So this one we're adding. So let's look. Obviously, immediately we can see that C is there. So C is going to go with situation 2. So we've taken care of these basic ones. Okay, and then if you look, if you know you're going to be adding 3 each time, for minute 1 we're at 83, minute 2, 86. So this one is also going to go with situation 2, which means let's look at this. If she triples her followers every year, 80 times 3, 240, 240 times 3, 240 or 720 times 3, and so on. So then this one would go with situation 1. So now we have this one and this one. So now let's look here and here. Well, if you remember back earlier this year, we did equivalent equations. So if you know these two are going to be equivalent to something over here, let's look at what's happening. What is 3 times 3? 9. 3 times 3 again, 9. 9 times 9 is 81. So we have 80 times 81. So now this one would go with this one, which is situation 1, which leaves situation 2 to be D. And if you look here, if you're adding the same number 4 times, remember that's the same thing as 4 times 3, and add 80. So again, these are just equivalent equations here and here and here and here. Okay, so you are going to do that again here in just a minute for your exit ticket once you watch the video. So make sure you understand this. That is going to be our way that we're checking to make sure you're doing your work and understanding your work besides just the cool down. All right, lesson 2 summary. Let's kind of sum up what we did in this lesson. Here are 2 tables representing 2 different situations. A student runs errands for a neighbor every week. The table shows the pay he may receive in dollars any given week. So number of errands, pay in dollars, and so difference from the previous pay is all $5. Okay. A student, something's in my eye. A student at a high school heard a rumor that a celebrity will be speaking at graduation. The table shows how rumor is spreading. Uh-oh, that table did not pick up on mine. I'll have to look. I'll look at y'all's before I post everything and make sure that table's on there. Okay, so once we recognize the pattern, we can describe them mathematically. This allows us to understand the behavior, extend the patterns, and make predictions. So, at this time, whoops, let me go back up. At this time, you have your you have your exit ticket to complete, which is just 2 questions. And then after you do your exit ticket and submit that, then you will have your cool down on Thursday. I think Thursday is the 2nd. And then on Friday, make sure you check your weekly checklist. On Friday, you're doing your Delta Math. And again, I'll make a video on that, but I think you guys will be okay. I'll make a video on that. Is what we're doing this week is 2-step equations. And you have to show your work and submit. Like, if you have problem 1, I'm just going to go this real quick with y'all. If you have problem 1, and let's say it is 2x plus 3 equals 7, then I want you to work this out either on the computer or on a piece of paper. And then once you're finished with your entire work, you'll either take a picture of the whole thing and submit it to the document that I've included, or you can type it all out if you want to on the document. Either way, I find it easier to take a picture and upload, but you do what you want to do. If you have any questions, again, we'll have that live session. I'll have it posted on when we have the live sessions, or just shoot me an email. Good luck with everything, and see you on your next lesson.